What's up, guys? Nemo Propaganda here. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I have a hidden gem for you guys. Now, if you're new to my channel, you're going to be like, great, another YouTuber claiming he's got a hidden gem, the best of the best, this and that. For those of you that have been following my content for a long time, you guys know I can count on a single hand how many times I've considered a product a hidden gem. It is very rare for me. I believe a true hidden gem is far and few between. There's only been a few in the 4 years I've had this channel that I've considered true hidden gems. Absolutely remarkable products that punch truly above their weight. I think most products in this industry are priced appropriately, some a little smidgen too high sometimes, but very rarely does a product genuinely punch above its weight and beat out stuff that costs double or triple or 4 times as much. And I can prove it to you. Most of the time when reviewers say something punch above its weight, they don't give you an example of like what, if they say like, oh, this speaker is better than something that costs twice as much, they never tell you what product that's twice as much is better than. If it was true, they should be able to say it, right? You know what I mean? But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the exact names and models of products that are 4 and 5 times more expensive than this amp. And I will tell you straight up, this amp sounds better. A couple other things real quick. I want to remind everyone that my sound system does generally sit between $10,000 and $20,000 or more, depending on how I have it configured. Why am I saying that? Am I sitting here trying to brag and seem like the big man? No, I'm trying to show you that that is my frame of reference. I am a very spoiled audiophile. For those of you that have followed my content for a while, you guys know it's very rare that I review anything under $300. Usually I just don't enjoy it. It doesn't sound good to me. I have to lower my standards so much for the product. It's a frustrating experience because, again, I am a little spoiled. Most of the gear I review is going to be like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, sometimes quite a bit more. But generally, I play in the few $1,000 category for products. So I'm spoiled, and I still liked it. So that's one thing to keep in mind, right? Because look, if I'm coming from a Bluetooth speaker, what does it matter if I think this thing's impressive, right? But no, I'm coming from like a fairly expensive setup that is very refined, very resolving, excellent equipment. And I did not have to lower my standards to consider this an amazing product. That's pretty impressive to me. Second thing I want to remind everyone of is I don't use affiliate links. I'm not trying to sit here and tell you I'm better than anyone for that, but I think it's important because in the affordable electronics space, those of you that have been consuming YouTube for a long time may have noticed the same thing I've noticed. It's not uncommon for tech reviewers to review inexpensive electronics, give them these crazy raving reviews, use all the buzzwords, and it's because they've got an affiliate link and it just seems like they're trying to push units. You know what I mean? We see it a lot when products are around $100 or less. I see it all the time with Bluetooth speakers. I see it all the time with wireless earbuds. Look up any review of wireless earbuds. They all have affiliate links, and they all claim this wireless earbud, whether it's $20, $30, $50, $80, $200, they claim it's the best one, is better than everything else, and it's so incredibly frustrating. So my point in saying that is if I'm telling you this thing is really good and I don't use affiliate links, I don't have a dog in the fight, guys. I just found a true hidden gem. I found greatness, and I'm trying to share it with you because it's got a lot of amazing usage cases. Let's jump into the actual review with those disclaimers out of the way. Oh, just one more real quick. Listen, jaw's still real messed up from the dentist. We're in a lot of pain right now, but we're not going to let that stop us. We power through that kind of stuff, guys. But if I sound just a little bit different than usual, it is what it is. I'm trying to talk without moving my jaw too much. That's a unique challenge in itself, but who cares? Let's get on with the video. So I use this amplifier with a bunch of different speakers, and let me tell you right now, whether the speakers were super easy to drive or super hard to drive, this amp was able to power everything without any issues, and that brings me to its first standout feature and one of the reasons I love this amplifier. RSL rates this amp properly. If you don't believe me, go and look at the specs of some of these other inexpensive Class D amps like the Fosse's, the IEMAs, or whatever. They all rate their wattage with no THD or at 10% THD. Listen, 10% THD? The number is absolutely meaningless at that point. Are you kidding me? That's insane. Like 10% THD. Oh my God. Okay. I'm going to lose it. Let me move on. RSL rates this amp with honesty and integrity. You get 55 watts at 4 ohms at less than 1% THD. Amazing. So it could drive just about anything, including my very hard to drive and very bass happy CSS Crichton 1 TDs. Those speakers are my hardest set to drive. They demand a lot, even out of my mono blocks. And this little bad boy that quite literally fits in the palm of my little hands. I don't have the biggest hands. I mean, no problem, guys. Whether it was speakers that were more inexpensive, like the Hecko Aurora 300, or a little bit more expensive, maybe like Hecko again, I guess, the Salon Revolution 3, or more expensive stuff, CAF R3 Meta, Bucard S400 Mark II, more expensive stuff, Platimons. The amp did just fine. It was able to drive everything I had. Very impressive. Another standout feature I love is going to be the subwoofer output. You guys know I review a lot of subwoofers. I love seeing amps with subwoofer outputs. It is by way of a 3.5 millimeter to female RCA adapter. No problems. That's not a big deal. The thing is so small, I absolutely can forgive them. Not even forgive them. I applaud them for finding a way to fit a subwoofer output into this thing. And you do have the option to make it a switched filtered subwoofer output that does like a little 90 hertz crossover for you. It gives you Bluetooth, and you can also do USB audio. There's a few unique usage cases where I can see this being a very useful amp. Obviously a micro system in any room. And when I say micro system, I don't mean the room has to be small, because this thing can actually get pretty damn loud. I mean, you just like want a really ultra compact system for maybe aesthetics, right? Maybe it's a shared space and you want to just put it on your media console and have it look real nice. You're going to listen to some music in that room. You're also going to use it for TV use and stuff like that. Now, some of you guys might be like, does it have optical input or HDMI ARC? It can't fit, guys. This thing's too small. So you're going to use analog input, right? Analog out from your TV to analog in here. If your TV doesn't have that, don't worry about it. I made a whole video about HDMI ARC extractors that let you go HDMI to RCA, turns the signal into analog. You could still use your TV's remote to adjust the volume. I'll link that video below. And that'll essentially allow you to add HDMI ARC to this little amp for $30 or less. Tone controls, love them. You have 9 dB in either direction for treble and bass, and I did use those just to make sure they work. Phenomenal stuff. Let me tell you how the darn thing sounds, because RSL is really good at making stuff have good tonal character. The treble is going to be really clean, really clear. It's not going to be really bright, just a little bit on the forward side of neutral with the tone control set in the middle. A little bit extra sparkle, good clarity, good detail retrieval, and highly refined for the money. This is one of the areas where the amplifier absolutely punches above its weight. I'm going to quantify that for you a little bit more and why I'm saying that, but very refined treble. How refined? More refined than something like an Iota VX SA3. More refined than something like a Denon PMA 600 NE. More refined even, dare I say it, than the Emotiva TA1. I love that amplifier a lot. I recommend it all the time. But the treble here was very refined. That really surprised me. Moving down to the mid-range, we have a mid-range that is mostly neutral. And this is one area where I noticed where the only area this can't compete with stuff that's like 5, 6, 7 times the price, because with treble and bass, no problem. It beat even a lot of stuff that was $500-600. The mid-range on this amp was just a little bit staged, just a little bit smaller than something that would be 4 and 5 times its price, which isn't really a knock against it. I mean, the thing is $110. The mid-range is still perfectly serviceable, very open. It's got a good amount of air to it. Just, I didn't find the sound stage just wall-to-wall extension, you know what I mean? It was more between the speakers. Moving down to the bass, this is my favorite characteristic of this little amp, is how it delivers the bass to your speakers. It's definitely got a little boost in there at one of the lower frequencies. To my ears, it sounds like in the neighborhood of just maybe, 40 hertz, something like that, just a little bit of a bump. And man, it is so satisfying. It is so fun. It just adds a little bit of heft to any speaker I connect to it. And the crazy thing is, usually you don't expect that level of heft out of something so small. Usually these inexpensive amps, they're having the bass be a little bit neutral because bass sucks up a lot of power and the amp doesn't have a lot of power to deliver. Not RSL. Not only did they give us good, clean, honest wattage, they give us a little bit of extra thickness in the bottom end, and it is so absolutely enjoyable. What kind of speakers did I use? Well, I used stuff that's real affordable. I use stuff that's real expensive, and when I say real expensive, I do mean it. CAF R3 Meta, very resolving speaker. My Focal RA906 is very resolving speaker. Those two speakers alone will show you if your amplification is not up to the task. And this last one was interesting. RSL recommended this, which kind of surprised me at first. They're like, hey, you have the Monacoustics Platamons and the Supermon Minis, right? And I'm like, yeah, those are extremely resolving speakers, guys. I mean, the most resolving speakers I've ever had here. And I have both of them, the Mini and the Platamon. And they're like, try the amp with those. And in my head, I'm thinking, are you crazy? There's no way your little $110 amp is going to be able to play the Supermon Mini or the Platamon and sound clean. The Platamon and Supermon Mini rip apart $1,000 amplifiers and show you that they can't handle, they're not clean enough to drive those speakers. Those two speakers show you any distortion that an amplifier may have. It puts a magnifying glass on any shortcomings in your signal path, and I thought RSL was crazy for suggesting this combination. They must have known something I didn't know, because I connected the Supermon Minis first, and it was good, clean sound. Good, clean sound. No problems, no distortion, no noise, no grittiness, no graininess, which is fairly common with inexpensive Class D amps under 200 bucks. None of that. I was kind of surprised. I'm like, all right, let's try the Platamons. Platamons are even more resolving. Again, same thing. Clean, clear treble with good detail retrieval, good separation, very refined sound overall. Now look, was this little amp able to give me the same air and separation as my $6,000 preamp and monoblocks? No. Was it better than stuff that's around $500-600 bucks? By a long shot. I would take the RSL ia255 over the Denon PMA 600 NE for sure, and that amp's $500 bucks. I would take this over a Yamaha RS202 all day long. That's about $200 bucks. There's two examples right there that I would rather have this little inexpensive one instead. I'll be honest, even the Iota VX SA3, that's a really good amp, don't get me wrong. Its mid-range is a little bit more expensive. I'll absolutely give it that. And it has, it's a full-size amp and such, but like, I wouldn't say the Iota VX SA3 is better than this. You know what I mean? I just wouldn't say it. Not to my ears. It wasn't, not in the treble region, not with speakers that resolving. You know what I mean? Definitely not. Look, guys, I listen to the stuff and I report. That's what I do. Straight up. The fact that these were able to play my Platamons without me hearing any kind of grittiness or graininess, that was a tough pill to swallow, because I generally believe you get what you pay for. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I believe hidden gems are few and far between. I don't believe they happen that often. But this company has delivered nothing but excellence. Like I said, every single product I've reviewed from RSL has gone on to be a product of the year. I guess why would their amp be any different? These guys, they know what they're doing. They really know what they're doing, and they seem to be very obsessive on making sure their products aren't just excellent, but absolutely outstanding. My hat's off to them. Tried, of course, all kinds of different music. And normally at this point I'd compare it to other amps, but I already told you, I'd have this over the Denon PMA 600 NE. I'd rather have this over the Yamaha RS202. I'd rather have this over the Iota VX SA3. So, like, what's the point of a comparison? Instead, let me tell you the last reason I love this thing so much. So, a lot of times people ask me in the comments, Nemo, do you think it's more important to put more money in your speakers or your electronics? Now, I've discovered no matter what I say, most people seem to want to spend the most money on their speakers first. I totally get that. I was the same way starting out, actually. Most people seem to not have a problem spending $1,000 or $2,000 on their speakers, but they have a harder time spending $1,000 or $2,000 on their amplifier, and that usually comes later. Usually, they'll do something like a CAF LS50 Meta with like an amp that's a couple of $100 bucks, like $500, $600, $700 amp, right? Like a Rotel or, Emotiva TA1, Iota VX SA3, so on and so forth. And then they'll usually upgrade later. And then there's people that, they have a fixed budget. Maybe they only got $2,500 bucks and they want to get, speakers and amp. So they're looking at $1,000 set of speakers, $1,000 amp. But the speakers they really want are like $2,000. I had this happen recently in the comments. And what I believe this little RSL ia255 allows you to do is just you can go all in on your speakers. You can spend almost your entire budget on your speakers. End up with something that's really badass. Use your remaining $110 on the little ia255.1 because it's going to serve you for a while. It's going to keep you happy. It's going to keep that upgrade bug at bay for longer than you might think. And when that upgrade bug does hit you, no problem. Retire this to a secondary system, a desktop rig, a gaming rig. Maybe you want to add a couple of channels of Atmos to a theater room, and you don't have any more channels on your AVR. You could use this for that too. And you can upgrade then, right? It allows you to really have an awesome set of speakers without sweating an amp too much, because usually, like KEF R3 Meta is a great example. It's not crazy expensive at $2,200, but I wouldn't recommend someone connect an amplifier generally that's $500 or less to a speaker like that. It is fairly resolving. Same with something like the Fritz Carbons. I wouldn't use like an Iota VX SA3 or Emotiva TA1 because the Fritz Carbon 7s, they're fairly resolving. They're going to show you that weakness in the treble that inexpensive amps generally have. Same with the Focal Aria 906s, they're going to show you. And then other speakers that aren't even necessarily super resolving, but they have like such strong bass that needs to be tamed. That's another area generally very inexpensive amps have a hard time. But the RSL ia255.1 doesn't have any of those problems. Like, it just gets the job done. So you can actually go all in on speakers, cheap out on your amp if you're just getting started, and go with the ia255.1. And you're getting like a lot of the performance. You're getting a lot of the potential out of your speakers already. You're not getting 100% out of them, don't get me wrong. You connect an R3 Meta to the ia255.1, you're not getting 100% of what those speakers can give you. But you're getting like a lot more than you would expect for $110. I'd say like the treble and bass, you're most of the way there already. Most of the way there. As I've already said, the mid-range is probably is really the area where like stuff that's like $2,000-$3,000 really is a big upgrade from the ia255.1. Even something that's like $1,700, like this Choco Ime, the mid-range is much more expensive, but that's like 16 times the price. No surprise there. So I think I've told you just about everything I wanted to tell you about this amp. Like I said, I genuinely believe it is an absolute hidden gem in the truest sense of the word. I didn't have to lower my expectations to feel that way. It played well with every single speaker I used with it, including very hard to drive speakers, speakers with a lot of bass, speakers that are highly resolving, affordable stuff, super high-end stuff. Didn't seem to matter. This amplifier is an absolute champ. So again, whether you're putting together a little small system for a bedroom or a main system in your living room, you just don't have a lot of budget, or micro system, video game system, you know what I mean? Freaking theater rig, like literally doesn't matter. This thing, it delivers, man. It delivers. Look, I'm starting to ramble. I think there's only so many different ways I can say I love this amp. It makes me super excited and happy. And I can't wait to just start recommending it to people left and right that are on that tighter budget. You know what I'm saying? So if you got any questions, ask in the comments below. If your question is a little bit more complicated and might require some back and forth, please hop in my free Discord instead. There's a link in the description below. And until next time, later.